You're a transformational president, focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker and securing the world.
I have a lot of respect for this man.
The moment has finally come. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Mark Carney meeting with Donald Trump. We finally get to see, do these guys know each other? Was Brookfield calling in an IOU for bailing out 666 Fifth Avenue, the Kushner properties, with Qatari money, helping out Donald Trump, and in return calling in an IOU from Trump to help Mark Carney win the election? Let's jump into this. Here we have Mark Carney and Donald Trump meeting for the first time. Oh, come on. These guys know each other. These aren't two people who just met. Look at that body language. Look at this again. So in general, when you meet someone, you don't reach out and touch their hand like that. Extra touching on a human body only happens when people get to know each other a lot. That's why people shake hands, because they, that point of contact, it's the same every time. So the fact that they both embraced each other's arms like that, look at the look on these guys' faces. It's like, oh, hey, buddy, haven't seen you in a long time.
Mr. President, are you close to a trade?
Mark Carney with a big greasy smile on his face. He knew he got away with this. And just looking at this, they both shook hands, and then they both touched each other's arms twice each.
Canada has to meet the new Prime Minister, sir. Do you think
You see that? Mark Carney mimicking Donald Trump's signature move there. This doesn't look like a guy who's standing up to Donald Trump. This looks like a guy who's kissing up to Donald Trump.
the federal president breaks tomorrow?
So Donald Trump sits down Mark Carney just like he did Keir Starmer, Zelensky. This interaction, though, goes vastly different than those other ones.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have Prime Minister Mark Carney with us. As you know, just a few days ago, he won a very big election in Canada. And I think I was probably the greatest thing that happened to him, but I can't take full credit. His party was losing by a lot. And he ended up winning, so I really want to congratulate him. It was probably one of the greatest comebacks in the history of politics, maybe even greater than mine.
So Donald Trump is a very boisterous guy. He likes to brag about things, and in this case, he can't pass up that opportunity to take credit for Mark Carney winning. Looks like he's showing their hand here.
But I want to just congratulate you. That was a great election, actually. We were watching it with interest, and I think Canada chose a very talented person, a very good person, because we spoke before the election quite a few times. And
I'm sorry, what? Quite a few times?
Canada chose a very talented person, a very good person, because we spoke before the election quite a few times.
Why is Donald Trump praising Mark Carney? Talented person, good person. We spoke before the election quite a few times. Last I checked, they had 2 calls. Did Donald Trump just slip it out that they have spoken quite a few times? It just had nothing to do with all of this, but with all of this. Something to remember about Brookfield bailing out the Kushner properties for $1.1 billion. Jared Kushner, as you can see here, who was with Mark Carney, used to work in the White House with Donald Trump. He doesn't the second time around here, but just watch this entire engagement between the two of them with this SEC probe here in mind. Just remember this one sentence while watching this entire engagement between the two of them. So this was sent to Bruce Flatt, CEO of Brookfield. I write regarding Brookfield Asset Management's refusal to provide the Senate Finance Committee information it has requested related to the transaction with Kushner companies involving funding from the government of Qatar. So it goes on to say here, $1.2 billion bailout of the Kushner property. This was an IOU that Brookfield put in place for the future and are calling in that favor. That is what I suspect is going on.
And it's an honor to have you at the White House and the Oval Office. And you see the new and improved Oval Office. But I just want to congratulate you, and it ran a really great race. I watched the debate. I thought you were excellent. And I think we have a lot of things in common. We have some.
He congratulates him. He thought the debate was great. Mark Carney got slaughtered in that debate by every single other person on the stage, including Jagmeet. Jagmeet dinged him on his support through Brookfield of being a giant corporate landlord. Francois blasted him on his tax havens, and Pierre Poilievre absolutely nailed him on China.
Tough points to go over, and that'll be fine. We're going to also be discussing Ukraine, Russia, the war, because Mark wants it ended as quickly as I do. I think it has to end. We had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. And we will honor that, and we will stop the bombings. And they have capitulated, but more importantly, we will take their word. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore, and that's what the purpose of what we were doing. So that's just news we just found out about.
He goes on to talk more about the Houthis, but let's jump ahead.
We're going to have a very, very big announcement to make, like as big as it gets, and I won't tell you on what, but it's very positive, really, really positive. And that announcement will be made either Thursday or Friday or Monday before we leave, but it'll be one of the most important announcements that have been made in many years about a certain subject. Mark, would you like to say a few words?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'm on the edge of my seat, actually.
I know.
Notice that there, another little tap on the leg. These guys know each other.
But thank you for your hospitality and above all for your leadership. You're a transformational president. Focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker, securing your borders, ending the scourge of fentanyl and other opioids, and securing the world. And I've been elected with my colleagues here, with the help of my colleagues here. I'm going to spread the credit.
What happened to Canada Strong? He's sitting here praising Donald Trump.
To transform Canada with a similar focus on the economy, securing our borders, again on fentanyl, much greater focus on defense and security, securing the Arctic and developing the Arctic. And the history of Canada and the U.S. is we're stronger when we work together, and there's many opportunities to work together. And I look forward to, addressing some of those issues that we have, but also finding those areas of mutual cooperation so we can move forward.
We're stronger when we work together? I'm sorry, I thought the relationship was over. It's over. Crisis. It's all over. He said it 7 or 8 times. This guy is the biggest liar in Canadian history. Liberal voters got completely fooled and duped. All of us here, we knew what was going on. This is a bunch of nonsense.
That's great. Very nice. Thank you very much. It's a very nice statement. Anybody?
Is USMCA dead?
No, it was actually very effective. And it's still very effective, but people have to follow it. So, that's been a problem. People haven't followed it. But it was a transitional step a little bit. And as you know, it terminates fairly shortly. It gets renegotiated very shortly. But I thought it was a very positive step from NAFTA. NAFTA was the worst trade deal in the history of our country, probably in the history of the world. And this was a transitional deal, and we'll see what happens. We're going to be starting to possibly renegotiate that if it's even necessary. I don't know that it's necessary anymore, but it served a very good purpose. And the biggest purpose,
Wait, so it's not necessary anymore to renegotiate the USMCA? I thought Canada was ripping off America, but now that Mark is elected, it's okay now? We don't need to do any more negotiations? This meeting is unbelievable.
Served as we got rid of NAFTA. NAFTA was a very unfair deal for the United States. Very, very terrible deal. It should have never been made. It was made many years ago, but it should have never been made.
Canada and the United States. Would you like to see your first trade deal be with Canada, our neighbors in the world?
I would love that. Look, I have a lot of respect for this man, and I watched him come up in a sense through the ranks when he wasn't given much of a chance, and he ran a really great campaign. He did a really great debate. I think that debate was very helpful.
What is with all of the praising going on here? We know what's going on. That IOU is being played now.
I was going to raise my hand. I don't know if that's good or bad. I shouldn't say that. That might hurt you. But no, he ran a really great election, I thought. And yeah, something could happen. Something could happen.
He's worried about hurting Mark Carney's reputation.
Yeah, please.
What's the top concession you want out of Canada? The top concession you want out of Canada?
Concession?
Yes.
Friendship.
But that's not a concession.
No, we're going to be friends with Canada. Regardless of anything, we're going to be friends with Canada. Canada is a very special place to me. I know so many people that live in Canada. My parents had relatives that lived in Canada, my mother in particular. And I love Canada. I have a lot of respect for the Canadians. Wayne Gretzky, how good, the great one.
So Donald Trump goes on a tangent here talking about hockey and hockey players, but I really wonder if this entire time the IOU that was called in was to get Mark Carney elected. And as you'll see here, they don't remove the tariffs today. Is it to further tank Canada's economy, forcing Canada's best workers down to America? We'll see here in a couple days, in a week or a month, if Donald Trump opens it up and makes it easy for people to move from Canada to America and get American citizenship. This could have been in the cards the entire time.
No, Canada is a very special place. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, I'd like to get your response to this too. But Mr. President, you have said that Canada should become the 51st state.
Yeah. No. Well, I still believe that, but
So they asked if he still thinks Canada should become the 51st state.
it takes two to tango, right? But no, I do. I mean, I believe it would be a massive tax cut for the Canadian citizens. You get free military, you get tremendous medical cares and other things. There would be a lot of advantages, but it would be a massive tax cut. And it's also a beautiful, as a real estate developer, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together, I'm a very artistic person. But when I looked at that beauty, I said, that's the way it was meant to be. But, I do feel it's much better for Canada. But we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway, because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think, it would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. And we have done that in the past. And part of that, as the president just said, is with respect to our own security. And my government is committed for a step change in our investment in Canadian security and our partnership. And I'll say this as well, that the president has revitalized international security, revitalized NATO, and us playing our full weight in NATO. And that will be part of it.
And they have.
There we have it again. Mark Carney kissing up to Donald Trump again. So much for Canada Strong.
They have, I must say, Canada is stepping up the military participation because Mark knew, they were low and now they're stepping it up. And that's a very important thing. But never say never. Never say never.
What would it take to get the tariffs off of Canada?
Well, we'll be talking about different things. Like, we want to protect our automobile business, and so does Mark. But we want to make the automobiles, and we want to, we have a tremendous abundance of energy, more than any country. We have, just in Alaska alone, ANWR has been reopened now. ANWR is probably the largest find anywhere in the world. They say it's larger than Saudi Arabia. I don't know, but it's a lot. But we have tremendous amounts of energy. Other countries don't. We're both lucky in that way. They have energy. We have energy. We have more than we can ever use and more than we could ever sell, actually. And you have the same thing. So we're two countries that are very lucky. If you look at China, they don't have that. It's a big disadvantage. Other countries, most countries don't have. Most countries don't have that. So Canada and us, we have a lot of advantages over other places.
When you consider what Mr. Carney just said, that Canada is not for sale, does this make the discussion a little more difficult to start on?
No, not at all. No, not at all. No, time will tell. It's only time. But I say never. I've had many, many things that were not doable, and they ended up being doable, and only doable in a very friendly way. But if it's to everybody's benefit, Canada loves us and we love Canada. That's, I think, the number one thing that's important. But we'll see. I mean, over time, we'll see what happens.
This talk, this whole tone is completely changed. And I'm starting to wonder if this IOU came in to get rid of Justin Trudeau and install Mark Carney. They both win in this. Donald Trump came out swinging at Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau embarrassed Donald Trump back at COP26 or whatever it was. If you put those pieces together, it makes sense what's going on here because there's no tough talk. The 51st state talk only came up because a reporter asked the question, and even still, they both diffused it. Next up, a reporter asks him if the U.S. is willing to walk away from the USMCA.
Something you said on USMCA. Is the U.S. prepared to walk away from that pact?
From what pact?
USMCA.
No, it's fine. It's there. It's good. We use it for certain things. It's there. We have the USMCA is a good deal for everybody. I won't say this about Mark, but I didn't like his predecessor. I didn't like a person that worked for. She was terrible, actually. She was a terrible person. And she really hurt that deal very badly because she tried to take advantage of the deal and she didn't get away with it. You know what I'm talking about. But so, you know, we had a bad relationship having to do with the fact that we disagreed with the way they viewed the deal. And we ended it. You know, we ended that relationship pretty much. The USMCA is great for all countries. It's good for all countries. We do have a negotiation coming up over the next year or so to adjust it or terminate it.
Mr. President.
I'll say a word on USMCA, if I may, Mr. President. It is a basis for a broader negotiation. Some things about it are going to have to change. And part of the way you've conducted these tariffs has taken advantage of existing aspects of USMCA. So it's going to have to change. There's other elements that are come, and that's part of what we're going to discuss.
Right.
More butt kissing from Mark Carney.
During the campaign, Prime Minister Carney talked about the American betrayal. How do you react if Canada decided not to shop in the American store as much as before and decided to partner with other countries?
Well, we don't do much business with Canada from our standpoint. They do a lot of business with us. We're at like 4%. And usually those things don't last very long. You know, we have great things, great product. The kind of product we sell, nobody else can sell, including military. Look, we make the best military equipment in the world, and Canada buys our military equipment, which we appreciate. But we make the best military equipment in the world by far, the missiles, the submarines. But Canada, it does a lot more business with us than we do with Canada.
To the USMCA. Or what changes would you make?
We're going to work on some subtle changes, maybe. I don't even know if we're going to be dealing with the USMCA. We're dealing more with concepts right now. Look, right now, we're doing trade. We have trade. They're paying a tariff on cars and steel and aluminum. And I think we have a baseline of 10% or something like that for the tariffs. But we're getting along very well. Right now, going no further, but we have an agreement. We did something with even parts. You want to discuss that, Howard, with respect to Canada, which helps Canada out?
Sure. So we've made an arrangement with the car companies that 15% of their USMCA parts are included, and then 15% of foreign parts from the manufactured suggested retail price are not tariffed to help domestic manufacturing really thrive.
So it gave them a chance to be able to build their car parts factories if they're going to. A lot of these companies already have factories, and what they have to do is just fill them out. But they're able to build them in the United States, so we gave them a pretty substantial period of time.
I think. Mr. President, is there anything the Prime Minister can say to you today to change your mind on tariffing Canada?
Tariffing cars?
Tariffing Canada. Is there anything he could say to you in the course of your meetings with him today that would get you to lift tariffs on Canada?
No.
Why not?
Just the way it is.
Mark Carney, look at him here. Nobody in that room respects him. They want to talk to Trump.
If Canadians don't want it, would you respect that?
Sure, I would. But this is not necessarily a one-day deal. This is over a period of time they have to make that decision. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may. If respectfully, Canadians' view on this is not going to change on the 51st state. Secondly, we are the largest client of the United States in the totality of all the goods. So we are the largest client of the United States. We have a tremendous auto sector between the two of us, and the changes that made have been helpful. 50% of a car that comes from Canada is American. That's not like anywhere else in the world. And to your question about is there one thing? No, this is a bigger discussion. There are much bigger forces involved, and this will take some time and some discussions, and that's why we're here, to have those discussions, and that is represented by who's sitting around the table.
See, the conflict is, and this is very friendly. We're not. This is not going to be like we had another little blow up with somebody else. That was a much different. This is a very friendly conversation, but. We want to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada. We put tariffs on cars from Canada, and at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars. And we don't want steel from Canada because we're making our own steel, and we're having massive steel plants being built right now as we speak. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things because we want to be able to do it ourselves. And we, because of past thinking of people, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. In other words, they have a surplus with us. And there's no reason for us to be subsidizing Canada. Canada's a place that will have to be able to take care of itself economically. I assume they can. I will tell you that Trudeau, when I spoke to him, I used to call him Governor Trudeau. I think that probably didn't help his election. But when I spoke to him, I said, so why are we taking your cars? Why are we taking we want to make them ourselves. I mean, I said, and if the price of your cars went up, or if we put a tariff on your cars of 25%, what would that mean to you? He said, that would mean the end of Canada. He actually said that to me. And I said, that's a strange answer, but I understand his answer. But no, I mean, it's hard to justify subsidizing Canada to the tune of maybe $200 billion a year. We protect Canada militarily, and we always will. We're going to, that's not a money thing. But we always will. But, it's not fair. But why are we subsidizing Canada $200 billion a year, or whatever the number might be? It's a very substantial number. And it's hard for the American taxpayer to say, gee whiz, we love doing that. Thank you very much. We're going to have a very substantive. Thank you.
They just ended that so quick. Mark wanted to say something. He's not getting a word in.
Thank you very much.
Wow. So it's interesting. Donald Trump wanted to end this on that. The whole, we're subsidizing Canada, Canada's taking advantage of us, all that kind of stuff. That's where he ends this and doesn't allow any other questions. There's a power move. Donald Trump is letting everyone know he's in the chair, he's in control. IOU or not, he's not going to let Mark Carney have the final word in his house. That meeting went about exactly as I expected. It seems there is an IOU, in my opinion, coming from Brookfield, the Kushner properties, all that stuff, all this flowery talk, all this praising each other, those guys touching each other about 7 times. And the praising going both ways, not just Mark Carney kissing up to Trump. It's going both ways there. So what was the final result of all this? It's exactly what I said in the last video. Nothing changed.